Welcome, guys. So we've got a review video now, haven't we?
It's here. Oh.
Finally here.
Oh. So happy. My hands are my army, by the way. So
if you haven't noticed. Okay, so quite simple. There's a lot of reviews already out, which are detailing all the strats and but all the play from a competitive side. But we're just going to put down our thoughts on the new books. So we've got the Iron Hands, and then Raven Guard will be coming. Jamie, as they're your army, do you want to take the lead?
Hold on. What's going on here?
Is that someone infiltrating in?
It could be. Yeah, I'm super happy for Iron Hands. I feel that they've sort of been the neglected stepchild of the Astartes for some time now, and although what we're reading with reports and looking through here, it seems that they're going to be extremely powerful. I've mixed feelings about that because I'm glad that they've got some good rules now and that they've finally got a special character, this little chap at the front. But sometimes there is this tendency to overcompensate, and I don't want it to be that there's a load of bandwagon jumping and a lot of spam called out with people taking Iron Hands. It's just a shame. This keeps happening.
Sadly, I think that's already happening. Sadly,
so, yeah. Lots of black spraying going on.
Yeah, but yeah, you do have a bit of a knack at the moment, particularly in 8th edition, of taking an army and building it, and then all of a sudden they become ridiculously good.
Yes, it's my prognostical ability. No, I know. Has it happened with the Eliton, didn't it? I've had those guys for 20 years, and now
Riser Admech.
Riser Admech.
Now Iron Hands.
Now Iron Hands. Well, there was one other as well, wasn't there? There's something else that's that I'm losing. Anyway. So
okay. So do you want to run us through the?
So I'll keep glancing down at this lovely book, on par with all the other supplements. Goes through the background, the founding of the Iron Hands, their general outlook on life. Gives you the chapter organisation.
Quite morose outlook on life.
Yeah, well, pragmatic, I think is how I view it. First company through to 10th company, giving a bit of info on each, that's nice. And then we look really at the rules and our new special character. So we won't really focus on the fluff because people should either know it or would want to read about it online.
Yeah,
but,
definitely. I would really suggest reading the fluff in this one as well, because Iron Hands are one that, whilst there's a lot of heresy novels about them, particularly a lot of the small novellas, this actually does expand quite nicely, particularly more of the recent stuff. So whilst it does shine back to Isfahan and kind of the origins of the chapter, it actually does expand quite nicely. Like there is quite a lot of fluff inside it for such a small book.
Yet, so I need that's on my list. I'm working my way through it, and I haven't got to all the new fluff yet, apart from little snippets here and there about individual chapters and characters. There is a guy who's basically not himself anymore. He's been rebuilt with that many parts from pre-existing Iron Hands passed down over the century. I think he's got his eyeball left, and that's it.
Sounds about right.
Brilliant. So we'll just go through it in order. Start with Soul of the Chapter. The Soul datasheet unique to Iron Hands. It's Iron Father Phyros.
Soul of the Chapter.
Who comes in at a very balanced 110 points.
Balanced if you doubled it, possibly.
I think you're right. So, yes, that's going to be a problem. He's going to be auto-include for reasons that you'll either have seen online already guaranteed. Or that we will cover shortly.
Absolutely guaranteed.
Oh dear. 110 points is just far too little. Criminal, yeah, I agree. So, shall we go through his stat line?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
A little bit slow, 5-inch move, but you're not going to be moving him very far, are you? Apart from in one circumstance, which we'll come to. It's pretty much standard stat line for a Tech Marine, which is a weapon skill of 3+, ballistic skill of 2+, strength 4, toughness 5.
Big.
Which is ironic given that his background basically says he's less augmetic than most Iron Hands. 7 wounds.
That's big.
So Tech Marine is
7.
4. Add 1 for the Primaris factor, and then another 2 for giggles.
Just because.
Yeah. 5 attacks, pretty hefty. Leadership 9, 2+ save. So yeah.
Which you'd expect.
He's a pimped Tech Marine, isn't he?
Yeah. Very much so. With some quite nasty weapons as well.
Yeah, it effectively got a mastercrafted heavy bolter, given that it's got the extra AP and extra damage. He comes with a pair of servo arms and also Harrow Hand, which is the axe apparently that they used to chop off all the Iron Hands' left hands during induction.
Yeah.
So there we go. That is a strength +3, minus 2 AP, flat 2 damage.
So he's hitting basically at strength 7 on that.
It's like a slightly weaker Gorgon's, what's the Axe of Medusa, that's it.
Axe of Medusa.
Yeah, which is an extra AP and damage.
Okay.
So that on its own, not overwhelming.
No, it's good. Like the 7 wounds is pretty good. But again, as you say, he is a tech marine, so you're not going to be getting your hitting on 2s. He's certainly not. You're not expected to be fast, but that's not where his strength comes, is it?
No, there is more. So he has Angels of Death, as you would expect. He has his Signum Array. Start the shooting phase, select one friendly Iron Hands unit within 3 of this model. Models in that unit have BS 2+ until the end of the phase.
See, that's really good.
And that's a unit. So Land Raider, Godhammer pattern, for example.
Yeah, that is really nasty.
He's a Master of the Forge, which stacks with his Blessing of the Omnissiah, the standard Tech Marine ability, but it effectively says, don't worry about rolling the D3, just give them 3 wounds back.
Crazy.
Fluffy, but crazy.
Fluffy, but yeah.
It gets even more crazy when we add in other things.
Yeah,
as well.
once you get to the strats, then it gets really bad.
Artificer Bionics. So he effectively has a 5+ feel no pain as opposed to the 6+ everyone else had. Fluffy, like it. Makes sense for being such a unique character. And then we come to Rites of Tempering. Models in friendly Iron Hand units have a 5+ invulnerable save while their unit is within 6 of this model. Unit, not model.
So that is
Sorry,
crazy.
Azrael. Yeah.
That is crazy.
That's just...
and that's, for me, that is the bit that makes 110 points just utterly insane.
Yeah.
And as you say, putting it next to something like a Land Raider.
Yeah.
Straight away, 5+ invulnerable on a Land Raider or a Repulsor Executioner, as we will be seeing in basically every single tournament coming up.
Oh no.
It's just so strong for 110 points.
He has a Warlord trait as well, which has some interesting tricks, but we'll cover that with the Warlord.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring him today and Strike as well. Oh no, we're not talking about Battle Report, are we? Because we're doing a review.
No.
As you may have now guessed, we'll be filming Battle Report immediately after this. Right. So you'll be seeing him on the tabletop very soon.
Sure.
And I think you'll be seeing him in just about every Iron Hands list, which I hate because you shouldn't have auto-include units in armies, but until he gets an FAQ at a sensible point.
Yeah.
So
nice bit of artwork in here as well.
Of course.
And then
we come to the Calculated Fury. Like the Ultramarines and the White Scars, you get a bonus in a particular doctrine activation. And as you would expect with Iron Hands, there's the Devastator Doctrine. Very useful because from turn 1 you're benefiting. In fact, I can't really see many reasons that you'd want to change from Devastator Doctrine to anything else, because
not with the builds that you're going to see with your dreadnoughts and tanks and stuff like that. You're going to want to sit back and play that boring game of castling up and just shooting people.
Afraid so, and it's a shame that it encourages that. But what can you do? So while the Devastator Doctrine is active, models with this ability do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons. So just move with impunity. You can keep your Devastators out of line of sight, everything out of line of sight, and then just move them and start shooting.
So that's good.
And then you also get to re-roll hit rolls of 1. That's not failed hit rolls, so you get to re-roll hit rolls of 1. There seems to be a trend towards this now, doesn't there?
Yeah, and it's taking away your need for sticking a captain in. So you can, obviously you've got your doctrine and you can take guys like Ferios, you can take Tech Marines, Librarians as your HQ choices, because you don't need the captain there for those reroll bubbles, for those auras.
Only on heavy weapons, but then you'll have a lot of them.
You're not going to be using much else.
Exactly. So, moving on to the Warlord traits, we have got Adept of the Omnissiah, which basically says that you can repair 1 wound as if you're a Tech Marine effectively, and if you're already a Tech Marine, you add 1 to your D3 roll. So, fluffy.
Decent, yeah.
Not that you're probably going to be
Potential
taking a warlord that's not Phyros. But
No.
Will of Iron is number 2. You can resist a psychic power in your opponent's psychic phase, effectively by denying which of the warlords within 24 inches of the enemy model manifesting. Yeah.
It's alright, but you probably won't see it much,
No.
if we're honest.
In fact, I don't think that their warlord traits are that good. I think that they're
They're
average.
right.
They're all right. They're not as strong as say the White Scars ones.
No, definitely a couple of standouts, but
Yes. All flesh's weakness. When this warlord would lose a wound, roll d6 and a 5+. That is not lost.
that's good.
Yeah. Student of history. When this warlord consolidates, they can move up to 6 instead of 3, and do not have to end this move close to the nearest enemy model.
That is the best one.
Because when I read it first, I was like, oh, that's a bit rubbish. And this is the one that Thyros has. But bear in mind how that is worded. You can charge your enemy, attack them, and then you consolidate at the end of your attack phase. Attack phase, charge phase, what's it called when you hit people in
Fight
melee?
phase.
Fight phase, thank you. So you can move in, fight, and then consolidate 6 inches away from them so they can't fight you back. Anyways, yeah, that's just
Obscene.
crazy. I think we'll start to see that one crop up in other army books as well. What do you think?
I believe it'll probably get FAQ'd.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they caused a bit of hubbub with the weapon that they've got on the Eliminators, where you can now fire Overwatch and then run away.
Oh yeah.
And that was a huge thing in 7th for the Eldar Corsairs with the Reckless Abandon, where basically you could near enough never get charged if you were careful. And the amount of nerd rage that caused then,
Nerd rage.
I can see something similar happening here, to be honest.
The thing is though, if they FAQ it to take that away from it, it's not that good, is it? I mean, you can move up to 6 inches away from the enemy if you wish. I mean, when's that
I think
going to be useful?
The point for that for me would be if you've charged in and you're doing it at the end of the phase, so at the end of the turn, you've come in, you've hit a unit, you've wiped them out, and then you can pull back, and it just gives you the opportunity to either get back into a place where you're going to be screamed, or getting back behind cover, something like that. Actually, I think even like that, it's still really strong. Just because being able to get yourself back behind a screen, particularly with characters at the moment, like that could be so good.
And I suppose if you're consolidating after your in your enemy's phase, then you can at least back out of combat to shoot, and then charge back in again. So,
yeah, it is good. It is good.
So number 5, Merciless Logic. When resolving an attack made by this warlord on an unmodified hit roll of 6, you can make an additional attack, which cannot then generate further attacks.
It's alright.
I suppose if you've got a Primaris captain or something, you're statistically going to get 1 extra hit out of that, or 1 extra attack out of that, but yeah. And the last one, this is a reasonable one. Target protocols. At the start of your shooting phase, select 1 friendly Iron Hands unit within 6 of this warlord. Once that phase... It's very clumsily worded, this one. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model from that unit, you can re-roll the hit roll. Same again, but you can re-roll the wound roll. Same again, but you can re-roll the damage roll.
Yeah, it's clumsily written, but it's not a bad...
So it's that phase. So it's all happening in the shooting phase.
Yeah.
And it's basically saying something from that unit can re-roll a hit, something can re-roll a wound, something can re-roll a damage, but they don't all have to be the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which is quite good if you're looking Devastators, stuff like that nearby.
It's designed for Devastators, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
And to the relics. So as with the other supplements, it's divided into 2 pages. One is the relics of Medusa, one is the specialist war gear. The relics of Medusa are exclusively Iron Hands, unless you pay a command point to loan them out to your little buddies. Specialist war gear is for the Iron Hands and all the successors, and there's some generic ones we see in there that are in all of the supplements. And
Artificer Armour and Adamantine Mantle. Yeah.
And all the others, Mastercrafted Weapon, Digital Weapons.
Yeah.
And then these other ones under Specialist war gear all seem to be a sort of variation on a theme. So there's some form of bolter ammo, isn't there?
Yeah, so bolt around and then a melee weapon.
So just run through the relics of Medusa and the special issue war gear quickly. So the axe of Medusa is swap out your power axe effectively for a strength +3, AP -3, damage 3 weapon. So
it's really nasty.
It is.
So it's the flat damage 3 for me on that one.
It's almost a Thunderhammer, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you don't obviously get the penalty to hit, but you don't get that precious strength 8, which I think is really important.
You're also not paying 40 points for it.
Yes, this is true. So what's the power axe? 5 points opposed to 41 is it now for a Thunderhammer? So yeah. So I think it's a good option.
Definitely.
The Aegis Ferrum, which is a Primaris only relic, you add 1 to the toughness, and resolving an attack against that model reduce damage inflicted by 1 to a minimum of 1. So good to keep
Personal Serpent Shield. Yeah.
Yeah. Mindforge, this is effectively give your librarian a Thunderhammer, which doesn't have -1 to hit. Betrayer's Bane is a sort of reasonable combi melter. You swap out your combi melter for this, and I think the bolt gun is the same, but it's just an assault 2 combi melter. So an extra melter shot, and if it's on a character with a good ballistic skill, might be worth it.
Yeah.
The Ironstone, I think we'll hear a lot about this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Vehicle within 3 inches of friendly model with this relic reduces any damage inflicted by 1 to minimum 1. So this is this is sharing out a little serpent shield to your buddies.
That's nuts. Like, it is absolutely nuts. And unfortunately, as we're saying, like, the way that they're coming across, the way that they're building, you are just going to see 3 repulsors, executioners, with Fyros in the middle of it, hiding,
and then maybe or something.
Yeah, and a couple of Leviathan dreadnoughts just sitting back, and like, there's going to be so much firepower coming from that that it's going to be so tough to kill when you've got everything there, getting 5 up invulnerables, cutting all the damage, and then that's not even before you get into the stratagems, which can make that even crazier.
And also, don't forget that the Iron Hands just generic trap trait, which I probably should have mentioned at the beginning. Their trap tactic now is not just 6+ feel no pain.
Yeah.
By the way, if we mention feel no pain and you're new to the game in 8th edition, feel no pain was a special rule that was generic across armies that existed back in the day, and it would be feel no pain 4+, 5+, 6+, whichever it was. And it basically is what it is now. So a lot of videos I know refer to feel no pain, but if you're new to the game,
a save after your saves, basically.
That's it. So back to the Ironstone. Right. The Tempered Helm. Whilst a model from your army with this relics on the battlefield, roll 1d6 for each command point you spend to use stratagem on a 5+. That's refunded. That's just basically your command point farming.
Yeah.
And then the Gorgon's Chain makes a return.
Not as ridiculous as it was in 7th edition, though.
Yes, true. I do remember using that in 7th. It was good. So you get a 4+ invulnerable save, which is meh if you're putting it on a captain that already has that. It's good if you're putting it on lieutenant or librarian or tech marine that don't. Yeah. When resolving an attack with ranged weapons, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So
it's all right, but it's nothing.
No, nothing game.
You ain't gonna take it. Like, in all honesty, you look at that list of relics, and I can see maybe 2, possibly 3 that you would consider.
Yeah. But the Ironstone's definitely up there, isn't it?
And that's almost an auto take. It's just whether you drop command points to go for Axe of Medusa or the Tempered Helm.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, I only said half of what I was saying before because I sidetracked myself. But the other part of the Iron Hands generic chapter tactic is that you get Overwatch on a 5+ rather than on a 6, which, coupled with the reroll bubbles and the castling with all those things with heavy volume firepower like repulsor executioners and dreadnoughts, and the fact that there is, I think, a stratagem to make that even better.
There is.
Right. Special issue war gear, the adamantine mantles don't
need to worry about them really.
But the ones specific to Iron Hands are Auto Medici Bionics. If a model with this relic's lost any wounds at the start of your turn, it regains up to D3, and that's every turn. So
it's alright.
Yeah. Teeth of Mars, which is like their version of Teeth of Terror. It's a chainsword, and it's you replace your chainsword with it, so you can give it to Primaris characters that can take chainswords.
They can now. Yeah.
Yep. It's strength use, AP -2, damage 2, and you make an additional attack when using the weapon. And against a vehicle, you double the strength, so it turns into a mini eviscerator.
This is fun.
Yeah, that's not bad actually.
Yeah.
Haywire bolts. This is their special ammunition. give this model, when you give this model a relic, select one bolt weapon the model is equipped with. When the bearer shoots that weapon, you fire a haywire bolt, but this is only one shot, so it doesn't matter if you're putting on a bolt pistol or a storm bolter.
Yeah.
But if you make it against a vehicle, an unmodified wound roll of 4 to 5 is D3 mortal wounds, and a 6 is 3 mortal wounds. So it's turning them into mini Eldar.
Just better because of D3 mortal wounds as opposed to just 1.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that's every time you use it, so you can get utility out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll have enough guns to deal with vehicles.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be
an
issue.
The last thing is the Fortis pattern data spike, tech marine only. When a model with this relic uses their blessing of the ominous sire, roll 2 dice when determining how many lost wounds are regained and discard 1. So you just pick the highest. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So moving on to the stratagems. And then what else have we got to go in there? We've got the
about it.
technomancy, and that's it. Won't go through the objectives.
I wouldn't worry too much on that one.
So, stratagems. So 1 command point. Mercy is weakness, shooting or fight phase. When an Iron Hands unit is chosen to shoot or fight with, select one enemy unit. Until the end of that phase, every attack made by a model that is an Iron Hands unit from your army that can target the select unit must do so, but an unmodified wound roll of 6 wounds the target twice instead of once. So, if you want something dead,
decent. Yeah, if you want to clear something or desperately need to clear something out, if you've got a Death Star in your face or something like that, then
that's the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're mounting a counter attack.
Yeah.
Methodical firepower for 1 command point. Yeah. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase if the Devastate Doctrine is not active. So if for some bizarre reason you've chosen to move on to the tactical doctrine, then you can allow one unit to go back temporarily to using Devastate.
Yeah. Is that back or is it in addition?
Resolving Devastate Doctrine is treated as being active. Oh, in addition, you're quite correct.
So it's in addition. So if you've got a unit that's got rapid fire and heavy weapons, you're now having both of them. So
good point. Yeah.
Repulsor Executioner for 1.
Oh, well spotted. I see you know your spam well. Yes. So, March of the Ancients, 1 command point. Nominate, use this stratagem before the battle after nominating a model to be your warlord. Okay, so that's important actually. Select one Iron Hands Dreadnought model. This model gains the character keyword. Add 1 to the attacks and leadership. Okay, so if you're using it on one of the little dreadnoughts that are
really good.
Yeah, below the 10 wound limit, then
Probably not one you're going to take against Raven Guard though.
Yeah, because they'll be sniping the hell out of you anyway. 1 command point, Vengeance for Istvan 5. This basically means against Word Bearers, Iron Warriors, Night Lords or Alpha Legion, you can reroll to hit roll. Like a nice bit of fluffy use of a...
and then Raven Guard have got it as well. You can assume that the Salamanders probably will as well when their supplement drops.
I find it interesting that in the Iron Hands version of that, there's no Emperor's Children mentioned. You think that there is something about Emperor's Children later, but you think they probably had a little bit of a grudge to bear. Yeah, nothing to lose your head about, that is it.
No, of course not.
Wrathful Machine Spirit, 2 command points. Use the stratagem in your shooting or fight phase when an Iron Hands vehicle from your army chooses to shoot or fight. Until the end of that phase, you can reroll the hit roll.
Decent.
Yeah, but I think you'll have enough rerolls of 1. You might want to take the Chapter Master generic trait on a captain if you've got them in there for reroll everything anyway. But.
Yeah, and so it is 2 CP's a little bit spendy on that, I think.
When you can pay 2 CP for the Chapter Master trait.
Exactly.
Souls of Iron for 1 command point. Use the stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase when an enemy psycho model manifests a psychic power within 24 inches of an Iron Hands unit from your army after any Deny the Witch attempt.
Yeah.
Roll a d6 and a 4+, that's resistance. So
yeah, that is good.
In an army that already has Feel No Pain, which generally is the only thing you can use to stop yourself taking mortal wounds, and that also could have a Psyker in, then you're getting extra chance to deny 50/50. It's really strong.
Especially when you consider that, like, if you've got someone maybe hit you with a super smite, like, chances are you ain't going to be denying that, you ain't going to be getting up, but all of a sudden you can turn around and just go, okay then. And bear in mind there is a relic that will go on with that as well. This in the core rulebook, in the core marine book.
Which one is that?
In the Vigilus one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I never.
The Galthamore relic.
Oh, is this the one that's? Oh, but it's now in the main book.
It's in Vigilus, which obviously is still it's still
valid.
Yeah. But available to all of the standard Space Marines, but obviously these guys can take it as well.
Wow. So, Scion of the Forge, use the suggestion for the battle, select one Iron Hands model from your army that has the word Sergeant. You can have one of the following special issue relics. So this is the one we keep seeing crop up in various forms in all the supplements, isn't it? Digital weapons, Teeth of Mars, Haywire bolts, or Mastercraft weapon. If you want to go down that route.
Yeah, and then you've got odd uses of that, of maybe say something like a Devastator Sergeant. You could give him the Haywire bolts. So actually that could be it gives him a bit more.
What about a Terminator Sergeant with a Thunderhammer Storm Shield? You can make it mastercrafted.
Yeah, that'd be quite fun. For a command point, it's not bad going.
Yeah, or
getting
just
that extra damage.
Assault Marine Sergeant or a Vanguard.
No one takes Assault Marine.
What was I thinking? Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. Give him a cheap chainsaw to make it Teeth of Mars.
Yeah.
Anyway. But then you have to pay a command point and to use your relic. So
yeah.
Reject the flesh, embrace the machine for 1 CP. Use the stratagem in any phase when an Iron Hands infantry unit is chosen as a target for an attack until the end of that phase when a model loses a wound, roll a d6 and add 1 to the result. So this is if they have all flesh's weakness, with Iron Hands do. So you'll end up saving on a 5+, or if you have the all flesh's weakness warlord trait. Oh, sorry, I've read that wrong.
Yeah.
Basically, what I said, but if you have that warlord trait, then it's a 4+ because you're adding 1 to it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Engine Purge 2 CP. If the Devastator Doctrine is active, use this at the start of your movement phase till the start of the next battle round, resolving an attack made with a heavy or grenade by Iron Hands models from your army. I find grenade being active in the Devastator Doctrine a bit weird because you're never going to be close enough to use them. But hey.
Nope.
An unmodified wound of 6, add an additional 1 to the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon for that attack. You can only use this stratagem once per battle, sensibly.
Yep.
Good lord. So, if you're firing with something that has ridiculous firepower, like
a Repulsor Executioner,
you're adding an additional 1 to the AP characteristic. Now, this is a bit like the one that's mentioned, is it in the Ultramarines book or the generic book? I can't remember, because it's a bit unclear, because it does say specifically that you can't stack the doctrines, and then you have something that overrules
all of a sudden,
but doesn't mention it.
Yeah.
I think that is an FAQ.
As I say, I think that one is quite good, but there are some of the standout ones that you think of, like I say, like a Repulsor Executioner. Realistically, on the big turbo laser, you don't really need extra AP.
Unless you're shooting at that stage anyway.
Unless you're shooting at a Land Raider with a 2-up armor save that's sat in cover.
Yeah.
You're going to be cutting it down anyway. But it's relatively cheap. It's decent on something like maybe a Leviathan with storm cannons.
Yes, that was what I had, that mental image in my mind.
That's when all of a sudden those shots that are good at hitting kind of for medium infantry all of a sudden start hitting heavy infantry and really hurting. So it's decent.
It's the same with every book. You just need to find a way of getting enough command points to get maximum utility out of this, don't you? And sensibly,
you won't be getting many with an Iron Hands army.
No. Sensibly, they've incorporated this new wording into the book, saying if you don't take a pure Space Marine army, I think you can mix and match chapters, can't you? But it has to be all Astartes.
So if you have any models that haven't got the Angels of Death roll, so it's anything that's not in the Codex Space Marines.
Yeah.
So you could have Raven Guard battalion, an Iron Hands battalion, and use them together.
Yeah.
Admittedly, you're probably doing about 4,000 points at that point. But as soon as you add in anything else outside of that, and thankfully they've now FAQ'd it, because originally anything from Forge World or any index choices also lost you the doctrines.
That was half my White Scars army gone.
And basically anyone who's played competitive, it was most of their army gone. But yeah, so even dropping a 85 points to drop an assassin in.
Yes.
Now you loses your combat doctrines,
so
which
these
is
are
interesting.
All the things that were making up the lists that were effectively soup. So the Loyal 32, the Assassins, the Knights.
Rusty 17.
Oh, and the Rusty 17, yeah. So that's purposefully designed to counter that and make people encouraged to take more balanced mono lists.
Yeah. Which is only in the best interest of the game for me.
Yeah, totally. So I think we're going to see things like the Doctrines as an extra perk for armies crop up in newer books as they come along with that specific wording in, Eldar, for example.
Yeah.
You get rewarded with an extra thing. Yeah, so you don't end up taking Craftworld plus Flyer Wing from Drukhari and all those spammy...
Who do that?
Exactly. And all those spammy Harlequin units that you want to add into your list.
Harlequin units that probably won't be seen on the board now that this is in existence.
Yes. So, sorry, let me whiz through these last few. Gorgon's Rage. Rah. Use this stratagem in the head. Didn't really serve them very well, did it?
Not really.
In the fight phase, when an Iron Hands unit from your army is chosen to fight with until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack with a melee weapon by a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll. So you become Space Wolves. In addition, until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon model in that unit against an Emperor's Children unit, add 1 to the wound roll. So that's the...
You're specific.
That's just specific.
But let's face it, you don't want to be in combat anyway.
No, exactly. Cogitated Martyrdom. This is the shield drone thing.
Ugh.
Use this stratagem, 1 CP at the start of the shooting phase. Select 1 Iron Hands infantry unit from your army until the end of the phase when a friendly Iron Hands character model within 3 inches of that unit would lose any wounds as a result. You roll a 2+, and they take a mortal wound, effectively. Only 1 attempt to intercept each attack. So it is just basically shield drones, isn't it? Or shield
and I think that's
drones.
One of the things that does begrudge me on the new supplements, kind of most of all, is actually they're taking rules that were very unique and very specific to other races, to other things, and they're dropping them into the Space Marine books. Yeah. So for, say, the Tau, yes, they get it for free rather than having to pay. Ultramarines get their Overwatch, and then already you've had the shield drones on top of that. You've been given things, Serpent Shields, and all of a sudden, those Space Marine armies that were average beforehand have just basically taken the strong parts of every other Xenos Codex and dropped it in. And that, to be honest, it worries me more than, like, again, as we're saying, at least with the Space Marine ones, you're having to pay a premium for it. You're having to pay command points, which, as I've just very much learned trying to build up my list for the game later, is very hard to come by because Marines are still very expensive. They've had point drops fairly across the board, but you're not going to be building big armies. You're not going to be building large armies.
That's a good thing, though, isn't it? Because if it says to you, okay, you can 1750, 2,000 points. You've got all these lovely stratagems to use, but there's a price. If you want to take all the units that will benefit from the most, you're going to have less CPs.
Yeah. I'm just hoping that as they go through the books now, as they go through it, and it will roll out to more of that, because the Space Marine stratagems in particular in the supplements and even in the core rulebook are really good now. And when you look at a lot of ones, so like the Eldar ones, considered to be some of the better stratagems, and I would say they probably have
the 3 that people use. You mean?
Yeah, probably counted on one hand. Actually, the ones that are particularly kind of worthwhile. Whether for me the Space Marines, you could burn through 40 command points in a game that would be completely fine. It'll come. I think 8th edition was a big leap in a good way overall, but the 8.5 adjustments will be for the better, I hope. You can see what they're doing, and it looks like it's going to be positive. He says, famous last words. I just feel sorry for the Chaos players that have just got a new book and now it's awful. That
frustrated me. It's like, what's the point of releasing this new book and then the Space Marine Codex comes out and totally overrides that and takes things in a different direction? So anyway. Machine Empathy, 1 CP. Use the stratagem in the movement phase after an Iron Hands Tech Marine model in the army has used their Blessing of the Ominous Eye ability. Not forgetting that Phyros is a Tech Marine and it's only 1 CP. You can use that Blessing ability again and repair the same model if you wish. So
6 wounds?
6 wounds back. So your Predator that was on full wounds that's now down in its mid or bottom bracket is now back in its full bracket, etc. Repulsor Executioners, Leviathan Dreadnoughts.
Enough said.
Yeah. 1 CP Paragon of Iron. This is basically is the same one that we're seeing by any other name. That says after nominating an Iron Hands character model that is not a named character to be a warlord, you can generate a second warlord trait for them.
Which is decent.
It has to be an Iron Hands trait.
Yeah.
It has to be different. So.
Yeah.
Optimal Repulsion Doctrines of 1 CP. In your opponent's charge phase, this is the additional Overwatch one.
Yeah.
Where 9 hands unit for your army fires Overwatch until the end of that phase, when resolving it, hit roll of 5 or 6 scores a hit. If that unit has the Flesh's weak chapter tactic, which Iron Hands all will, when resolving an Overwatch attack, it's on a 4 to 6 instead.
Yeah, so for me that's absolutely nuts, especially when you put a chapter master nearby.
Yeah.
That Leviathan Dreadnought with 2 storm cannons is throwing out all of that firepower, hitting on 4s, and then re-rolling all failed hits because it's a chapter master.
I'm getting some ideas for our game, Richard.
Unfortunately, obviously, Tau Sept do this quite well, although theirs is 5-up, I believe.
Hands are the new.
Yeah, and I've fallen foul on it a couple of times. I've got a few melee armies, and it can be utterly devastating. And to then do that on a 4-up and then have all of those re-rolls as well, it's adding more fuel into the fact that you're just going to castle up.
So how do you counter an Iron Hands army? Well, you want to
throw it off the table.
But you want to lock them up in combat, don't you? Because they're not Ultramarines, they can't fall back, and then suddenly their heavy weapons.
You want to tank them.
Yeah. So you want to charge them. How on earth can you charge that?
Well, funny enough, we'll get onto that in the Raven Guard supplement.
Yeah. So I thought it's going to be a good matchup, isn't it? What did Admiral Akbar say?
It's a trap!
Not that one, the other one. About there being too much firepower or something.
Never too much firepower.
No. Last 2 stratagems. Mnemonic Auto Savant. This is one of the... and this is very good as well. Yeah. This is one of the... what are they called? When you're playing Maelstrom games.
The tactical objectives.
Modifying things that we're seeing different versions of in the supplement. So this one is interesting. For 2 CP, use this stratagem at the end of the turn after achieving a tactical objective. If an Iron Hands warlord from your army is on the battlefield, do not discard your tactical objective. You can only use it once. But if you've just had a big score that you're confident you can get the next turn, you say, well, I'll keep that. Thank you very
something
much.
Like supremacy,
or
is that even for Iron
things
Hands
in the shooting phase, whatever that one's called.
Overwhelming firepower.
Yeah.
Something like that it could be massive for them. Although, as I say, it tends to be more narrative people. As I say, more casual gaming that will actually use the tactical objectives. You don't often see them. Even the GW tournaments, Eternal War missions, obviously ITC don't touch them. So I think for the competitive players, it's probably not much of a consideration. But for fun games, that can be really quite decisive and certainly very swingy. And it is 2 CP though, so it is fairly expensive when you're probably only dropping a battalion, maybe a little bit more if you can wangle in a spearhead detachment or something like that. So it is expensive for it. But victory points are victory points at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's as we know, that's how you win the game. It doesn't matter if you've got 1 model left on the board these days. You play the game.
I'm thinking I might have none left. Let's see this afternoon.
We'll see. The final one, is bequeathed by the Iron Council, which is give your successor chapter an Iron Hand specific relic.
Yeah,
same as you.
No one's taking successors.
Won't go through the tactical objectives, but the last thing we need to talk about, apart from the wonderful Iron Hands name generator, is the Technomancy discipline. So I think these are pretty good actually. I like these.
Yeah, definitely good.
And what we're trying to do with our Space Marine battles of late to show off the new books is we're trying to bring librarians for each faction just to at least show them.
Yeah.
I think your list has got one of the...
does indeed.
Sort of
got Phobos.
Good aim on. Yes, chappy. But so he can take the...
Umbrancy.
He can take the Raven Guard one. He doesn't have to just take from the Space Marine Codex.
No, he can take the... Take the Ravens.
Is that what you're going to do?
Of course.
Good. Well, I did wonder if you were going to take the Vanguard ones.
No. Vanguard ones are really good actually.
Yeah.
And to a point, I think there is probably some utility in taking them instead, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, sorry, I'm crossing hairs, splitting hairs, whatever it's called. Blessing of the
Not
Machine God.
Streams.
No, don't do that. All sorts. Right, 1. Blessing the Machine God. Warp charge value 5, and you can affect it. And I think if you get 8 or more on your test, you can select a Titanic unit, but otherwise it's a vehicle within 12 inches. Till the start of your next phase, when resolving an attack made by that model, add 1 to the hit roll. So yeah, another way to improve your accuracy.
Yeah, it's decent. I like that one. Obviously, Titanic's not really much of an issue because you've only got the Astartes.
Yeah.
In a Space Marine army, and obviously you're not going to take an
Oh.
Imperial Knight because then all of a sudden you'll lose.
You see Thunderhawks everywhere.
Not plastic ones.
But actually, you could take it on one of the bigger Forge World tanks, couldn't you?
Something like a Fell Blade or a Glaive. Yeah.
So that's going to take your whatever tank, assuming it's in its top bracket, to hitting on a
Fell Blade in an Iron Hands army would be awesome.
Don't tempt me, Frodo. That would be a 2+ to hit with a million ways you can reroll ones, i.e. being in the Devastator Doctrine.
On a Repulsor
You can't
Executioner.
Yeah, on a Repulsor. 2. Objuration Mechanicum. This is warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to the Psyker until the start of your next psychic phase when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in that unit on an unmodified hit roll of 1. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound after resolving that attack.
I quite like this. Anything to give out mortal wounds, because Marines, apart from Hellfire and flak missiles, you don't really have a great amount of, obviously, smite.
Yeah.
But anything else to put out mortal wounds is never a bad thing, and if you can get the enemy to hurt himself, then even better.
That is amazing. Because actually, and I think it was D6 Evolution, they made a very good point about this. You're going to see in various Marine armies, you're going to see a lot of aggressors now because they're so good. How many shots do aggressors have?
Too many.
And how many ones would they roll making those attacks? Yeah. Hilarious. 3. Fury of Medusa. Warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select 1 enemy model within 18 inches and visible to the Psyker. Draw the shortest possible imaginary straight line, 1 millimetre wide. I like the clarification, which comes from the old Jaws of the World War.
Yep.
In 6th or 5th or whatever it was, when people are like, oh, how wide is the line?
Yeah.
How many models can I hit? Between this Psyker's base and the model's base, roll a d6 for selected model's unit, and each other enemy unit it passes over, so it's a beam power back in old talk. Add 2 if they are a vehicle, because they're slow. On a 4 to 5, the unit being rolled for suffers a mortal wound. On a 6, it's d3 mortal wounds.
It's alright. It's alright. If you've got
the right lineup.
If you've got the right line, and
such as
not bad.
Man's Castle.
Yeah, not bad for picking out characters as well. Actually, if you've got say like a Gene Stealer Cult where they've got loads of small characters, so loads of weak characters with, they've got 4 wounds, but if you can plink off a mortal wound here or there, obviously help your scouts with their sniper rifles take them out.
Yeah.
I've got time for that one.
Size steel armour. Warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select an Iron Hands unit within 12 of this Psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. When resolving an attack against that unit, add 1 to the saving throw. Doesn't affect invulnerables, but still. Yeah.
It's alright.
So, I mean, use it on your Land Raider or Repulsor Executioner. Then it's toughness 8 and, it's surviving, isn't it?
Yeah, it's you don't really need anything more for your resilience, I don't think.
No, they're resilient enough already.
Yeah.
Reforge. This is another way to repair things. Only warp charge 5. An Iron Hands vehicle model within 3 though, and visible to the Psyker. Model regains up to d3 lost wounds. So between the Iron Father stratagem that can make him repair twice, and now this, you can repair up to 9 wounds a turn. Yeah. Lastly, I remember this one from the older days of Warhammer. Machine Flens, warp charge value of 6. If manifested, selects an enemy vehicle within 18 inches and visible to the Psyker, d3 mortal wounds. You can then select an enemy unit that was within 6 inches and visible to that vehicle unit when this power was manifested. Roll 1d6 for each mortal wound the vehicle unit suffered. For each 3+, they also suffer a mortal wound as you throw pieces of the vehicle at them. Lovely.
I was going to say, I like this one just for, obviously, mortal wounds again, the ability to put them out is never a bad thing. I just love the like cinematicness of this one, of like bits of tank track and stuff flying off and
chuck it at your mates. I like rules like that, and what's the other ones Imperial Knights have, where they tear a chunk out of something and throw it at something nearby.
Over the gauntlet, yeah.
So, overall, it's very powerful.
Strong.
It does encourage mono play, which I don't like, because it's just basically going to be Thyros, maybe a librarian, certainly a tech marine, probably a chapter master, all sitting there in a nice bubble and surrounded by ridiculous firepower and probably some cheap screen.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you play them.
I think that what does worry, it worries me is that actually they're not going to be a dynamic army.
No.
But they're just, I think that for me, so much of the strength of this book comes out of the fact that Marines in general got a massive boost in how powerful they are. Like with the doctrines, with the bolter drill, obviously, they can put out so much more hurt, but they still died like Marines. A star cannon here, kind of there, would still take them down.
Well, we said it
all
before.
Of a sudden now.
Yeah.
These are so resilient and so resilient. When you get in, let's say, dreadnoughts, land raiders, repulsors, like I still don't think you'll see a huge amount of land raiders because they are still expensive. But now all of a sudden, that land raider that was an expensive bullet magnet is now worth taking, because you've got your ignore wounds straight away, which so on vehicle, like
they should have included things again. They suffered from new Codex syndrome at the beginning of the edition, didn't they? 8th. So it's suddenly it only applied to infantry, bikes, etc., not vehicles. And then every book that came after that, apart from other marine books, it was like vehicles. Yeah. They've corrected it, and again I feel bad for the Chaos Marine players, because for some reason they chose to correct it a few months after they put out a second version of their Codex which didn't correct it.
Yes, yeah. So I think for me, I think Iron Hands of what we've had so far are definitely the strongest. The Ultramarines are somewhat close. I think Ultramarines probably do have a bit more of a dynamic play style to them. I think you need to be a little bit smarter with them. Whether Iron Hands is just a big ass gun that you click the trigger and
until Imperial Fists
take stuff off.
There'll be a bigger gun.
Well, sure. We'll see. There's obviously rumours abound that the Imperial Fists are somewhat ridiculous. So we'll see what happens.
Turn it up to 11 people.
No, that's Noise Marines. It's a strong army. It really is. I genuinely feel worried fighting it with things like my Eldar, and again, as we've mentioned in previous videos, I think very much the Iron Hands you will be seeing on top tables of tournaments, certainly for the next few months. But I think they're also just going to be absolutely devastating at the casual level, because it is such a click army.
I think you made the point before that in casual games they've jumped up to another level now, so where it's hard to not be powerful with them. Whereas in tournament play they still won't be at the top. Maybe Iron Hands will, but the Marine Codex
they really will
getting up there, aren't they?
Yeah, I genuinely think they will, because I think the where you saw a lot of the Marine builds previously, like the repulsor list, the Ultramarines repulsor list that they had a little while ago, where that suffered was actually the repulsors are great. Like they put out a horrendous amount of firepower, especially with Gulliman next door.
No invulnerable save.
They still died relatively easily. Certainly, if you've got, say, a Eldar flyer list that's throwing a ton of star cannons into them, or say certain knight lists, Castellan obviously wrecks a repulsor quite easily. But now all of a sudden, if you're looking at 3 repulsors with a 5-up invulnerable, 5-up feel 6-up feel no pain, and then able to heal wounds on them, able to get them kind of working at their top brackets again, and then just adding in the stratagems to boost their effectiveness, you're going to burn through command points like crazy, but you're just going to do so much damage and be able to take so much more punishment now than you used to be able to.
I'm so glad they stopped you putting cheap guard battalions in with them to benefit.
Definitely.
I mean, you could still do it, you just wouldn't benefit from the devastating
doctrines
or the additional perk to that. So.
Yeah. Which
it wouldn't
is
be the end of the world, actually, would it? You could still use all the other stratagems.
No, and I wouldn't be surprised if you do actually see that, because as you say, if you take a chapter master, if you're intending on castling up anyway, drop a chapter master in for 2 command points, and then all of a sudden you're getting your rerolls anyway. So yeah, Saturday I think, and we are going to see a lot of them up on the top end of the circuit,
So lots of green and blue marine army is going to be sprayed black soon, you reckon?
Definitely.
Cool.
Okay then, so
we better wrap up and move on to the Raven Guard. So
yes.
I guess, I mean, it's a strong army. It's going to change the meta. I mean, don't lose your head. And until next time, ta-ta.
Farewell.